Welcome to Reproduction 5, Artificial Insemination of Swine, Horses, Dogs, Sheep, and Goats. We're going to start off with Swine AI. Artificial insemination in cattle really started in the United States in the late 1930s. By 1960, the majority of dairy cows in the United States were being bred artificially. There's a lot of research done on artificial insemination for pigs back in the 1950s and 1960s, but it took quite a while before AI became very popular in pigs. So in 1990, it was estimated that 7% of the sows were bred AI. By 97, it was 50%, and today it's greater than 95%. So the great majority of sows in the United States are bred artificially on both large farms and small farms. Well, boars are collected 2 to 3 times per week. On average, we get 12 inseminations per ejaculate. Now, in a mature boar, you might get up to 20 inseminations, but for the industry, 12 inseminations per ejaculate is the norm. Now, in cattle, we generally get a few hundred inseminations per ejaculate, so we can't extend out boar semen nearly as much as we can get cattle semen. But even then, assuming 2 inseminations per sow, it equals to 1 boar being able to service over 500 sows per year through artificial insemination. Artificial insemination advantages in swine. Why are 95% of the sows bred AI? It can actually save time over some other methods of breeding. Much fewer boars to maintain, made animals of different sizes, so you can have a 300-pound boar that can breed a much larger sow and vice versa. It really works well on large and small operations, and we can get more offspring from boars of top genetics. Here's an example of a boar with top genetics at the time. So this particular boar available for $60 a dose. As far as the cost of commercially buying swine semen, it can vary from $5 a dose up to $300 a dose. Here we have the genetic evaluations on this particular boar. So we have days to market weight, minus 4 days, grows faster than average. We have more pounds of lean in the carcass. For a number born alive, you just average pounds of feed per pound of gain. The negative number is good, so the boar is good as far as feed efficiency. Now, as far as where producers get the boar semen, there's different ways to do it. Semen can be purchased from commercial studs, and this is for registered purebred breeders. You can pay a lot for top boars, or if you just want commercial quality semen, it can be as little as $5 a dose. You can also collect from boars right on your site. So you can own 1 boar and collect them, and then inseminate 10, 12 sows from that 1 ejaculate. This just illustrating where we've have a boar that mounts a dummy. You grasp the penis with a gloved hand, and the boar will ejaculate into a thermos. Here's a large commercial boar stud. So we've got several different stalls here. There's somebody that is chasing, bringing the boars to the collection area. And then it's these people's jobs to guide the penis into the artificial vagina. So here's a picture of that artificial vagina in that commercial stud. The boar's penis is guided into there, and it just inserts in, and we've got a warm water, so it'll make sure that it's right temperature, and you can see the sperm, the semen, is going into the thermos. Boars are slow ejaculators, so it does take them 2 or 3 minutes for the ejaculation process. Well, the boar semen is extenders are added to it. Generally, fresh semen is used, and fresh semen can remain viable for about a week. We've got sows that are in estrus. We need to check them for estrus, and even though we may be using all artificial insemination on this farm, boars are still used for estrus detection. And if you run the boar past the sow pen, if the sows come and talk to the boar, they're probably in estrus. To prevent that boar from spending too much time to talk to an individual sow, we can have boars in this motorized cart that goes along the top here. You can see that this gilt here is really interested. She wants to really talk to the boar here. This gilt here may be just mildly interested, but good heat detection method. Have boars available on the farm, even though you may be using 100% artificial insemination. Here's just an old-fashioned method of insemination. You sit on the gilt. If she's in estrus, she's just going to stand there with the ears perked up. This individual is massaging the flank, and that's going to aid in semen transport up into the oviducts. Well, here we have sows in estrus and gestation crates, and the inseminator can just go right down the line, insert the insemination tubes, and let the sows drink in the semen. To aid in semen transport, it's a good idea to have a boar walking in front or riding in front of the sows to get them stimulated. Well, artificial insemination in horses is definitely on the rise. An advantage of artificial insemination in horses is that it may be quite a bit safer and less strenuous for the horses. So we've got a few slides here on just a collection of the stallion. So a stallion is introduced to the breeding mount. So here we have a padded platform for the stallion to jump up on. We probably should have a mare close by in front here to help get the stallion sexually excited. So you can see the stallion has dropped here. He's ready to mount the what we call the dummy. But first we may want to just wash and sanitize the penis. So we have a stallion here that has dropped, the penis is extended, and we're going to just use a sanitizing solution to prevent getting a bacteria load into the semen. The stallion has now mounted the dummy, and we've got a very brave person here that's going to guide the stallion's penis into the artificial vagina. The stallion is now ejaculating, and we know that because at the time of ejaculation, the stallion will flag his tail up and down. The ejaculation is now finished. We should allow the stallion to dismount and withdraw his penis kind of on his own time. And we have a little supervisor here of the whole process. There are many different commercial extenders available for Equine AI. Generally, you need 0.5 billion sperm per dose if you're using fresh semen, If you're going to use chill semen, which may stay good and viable for 4 or 5 days, you probably need about 1 billion sperm per dose. So a difference here compared to cattle. With cattle, we generally have 5 to 20 million sperm per dose. With horses, we need a half a billion sperm. We are now ready to inseminate our mare. So, and again, a difference compared to cattle and maybe swine in that with horses, we have to be very careful that we don't introduce bacteria into the reproductive tract. Horses are a lot more susceptible to bacterial infections than cattle or pigs. So we're going to put the horse in stocks here. We're going to wrap the tail, and then we're going to scrub the genitalia area, and then we're going to scrub it again so everything is relatively clean. So here we have the reproductive tract of a mare again, and so the uterine horn's relatively shorter compared to cattle. The body of the uterus is longer. Here we have the cervix. And the nice thing about the cervix in horses is that there are no rings there, so it's just a straight shot once we locate the opening to the cervix. We use a relatively large volume of semen in horses, so we're going to use about 20 cc's, cubic centimeters of semen, versus in cattle where we use 0.25 cc's. In horses, we put on a sterile glove, and we're going to insert our hand along with the pipette right into the vagina. So you can see here's the pipette, and we're going to cover the tip of the pipette with our gloved hand as we insert it into the vagina so that we're not introducing any bacteria onto the pipette. We're going to find the opening to the cervix with our index finger, and then we just insert the pipette following our index finger into the vagina. The plunger is slowly depressed so that semen is deposited into the body of the uterus. Artificially inseminating mares is a relatively easy process. You need to be careful, be as sanitary as possible, and hopefully you should have very acceptable conception rates. AI restrictions for horses. Most restrictions have been removed by breed associations, but the Jockey Club, which controls the registration of thoroughbreds for major races like the Kentucky Derby and other large racetracks around the U.S., does not allow the use of artificial insemination or embryo transfer. So if you see a horse racing at the Kentucky Derby, that horse was conceived by natural service. Most other breed associations, though, over the last 20 years have relaxed restrictions on artificial insemination use, and in many cases, breed organizations now actually encourage artificial insemination for horses. Dog AI is increasing. The biggest hindrance to increase artificial insemination in dogs, the biggest problem is knowing the time of insemination, since dogs can be in estrus for 6 to 8 days. The artificial vagina for collecting dogs is relatively simple. So here we're just using hand pressure with that artificial vagina to collect the male dog. Semen is going to be evaluated underneath the microscope, and then the semen is deposited through the cervix into the body of the uterus. Again, the biggest challenge for dog artificial insemination is getting the timing of insemination down. Artificial insemination in sheep is increasing, but it's still at a relatively very low rate. You can go on the internet and you can find semen available from different purebred sires around the world. Getting the semen into the uterus of the ewe is definitely more challenging than it is for other species. And basically the biggest problem is how do we get the semen through the cervix. There are rings in the cervix. It's very difficult to thread the pipette through. And even then you need to use a relatively large volume of sperm. So placing sperm in the vagina with fresh semen, you need 250 million sperm for acceptable conception rates. If we can get through the cervix, you still need 75 million sperm. But it's very difficult to get through the cervix. Most commonly today, if sheep are bred-eyed, we use laparoscopic, which is actually a small surgical procedure where we make an incision through the body wall and deposit the semen right into the uterine horns. It can be relatively automated, so it only takes 2 or 3 minutes per ewe. But laparoscopic insemination is most commonly used in sheep today. If you're going to artificially inseminate sheep, you want to do the majority of the flock all at once. You collect the ram, and then we have the ewes ready to go, and we use Time AI. So we insert a seeder, which is a controlled intrauterine drug release device. So basically we're going to have progesterone secreted into the vagina over a period of 12 days. Then the seeder is removed and we give an injection of pregnant mare serum, which acts as FSH to help time the ovulation and increase the percentage of twinning. And then after that, 48 to 56 hours later, we can inseminate all the ewes. And like I say, it takes just a couple minutes per ewe to do this insemination. Insemination process, the ewes are slightly sedated just so that it's less stressful for them. We're going to use a local anesthetic for this small injection that we make through the body wall. And generally we're hoping for a conception rate of between 70 and 75%. So the last slide here in this video, I have a picture of a dairy goat being artificially inseminated. So dairy goats, when they're in estrus, the cervix does relax enough and open up enough that you can usually thread a pipette through the cervix relatively easy. So here we have a hollow tube with a light source. The person gets down at the level of the goat, finds the opening to the cervix, and deposits the semen. And generally we have conception rates that are pretty acceptable in goats. For any of these procedures, whether artificially inseminating cattle, pigs, sheep, or goats, there are plenty of nice videos available on YouTube. If you want to watch the procedures, I would suggest you go to YouTube and search for the type of video that you're interested in. With that, that includes the video for artificially inseminating pigs, horses, sheep, goats, and dogs. Happy AI breeding.